People who were in prison, how did you feel after your release? As I sat on the cold, hard bench in my cramped cell, I couldn't help but reflect on how I ended up here. It all started with a series of poor decisions that spiraled out of control, landing me in this place where time seemed to stretch endlessly. It was a few years back when I got caught up with the wrong crowd. They were flashy, promising easy money and excitement. At first, it seemed harmless enough, just a few small-time hustles here and there. But as the stakes got higher, so did the risks. One night, fueled by a cocktail of adrenaline and desperation, we attempted a heist that went terribly wrong. The police were waiting for us, and before I knew it, I was handcuffed and thrown into the back of a patrol car. The trial was a blur, a whirlwind of legal jargon and damning evidence. Despite my protests of innocence, the jury saw through my lies, and I was sentenced to several years behind bars. Life in prison is nothing like I imagined. The days drag on, each one blending into the next in a monotonous routine of confinement and isolation. The friendships I've forged here are born out of necessity rather than choice, and trust is a scarce commodity in this unforgiving environment. But amidst the bleakness, there are moments of hope, fleeting glimpses of redemption that remind me I'm more than just a prisoner. I've made mistakes, yes, but I refuse to let them define me. Someday, when I walk out of these walls a free man, I'll be determined to make amends and build a better life for myself. Until then, I'll cling to the memories of better days, holding on to the belief that even in the darkest of times, there's still a flicker of light waiting to guide me home. Story 2. I've always been fascinated by old abandoned buildings, the kind that seem to whisper secrets from another time. So when I stumbled upon the crumbling ruins of an old mansion deep in the woods, I couldn't resist the urge to explore. As I stepped through the rusted gates and into the overgrown courtyard, I felt a thrill of excitement tinged with apprehension. The mansion loomed before me like a ghost from the past, its once grand facade now weathered and worn with age. Inside, the air was thick with dust and the smell of decay. Furniture lay scattered about, covered in tattered sheets, while cobwebs hung like veils from the crumbling ceilings. It was like stepping into another world, a forgotten realm frozen in time. As I wandered deeper into the mansion, each room seemed to tell a story of its own. I imagined the laughter of children echoing through the halls, the whispered conversations of long-dead lovers drifting on the air. It was as if the walls themselves were alive with the memories of those who had once called this place home. But amidst the beauty of the past, there was also darkness lurking in the shadows. In one room, I stumbled upon an old journal, its pages yellowed with age. As I flipped through its entries, I discovered the tragic tale of a family torn apart by greed and betrayal, their once happy home consumed by tragedy. Haunted by the words I had read, I pressed on, determined to uncover the secrets hidden within these walls. And then, in the darkest corner of the mansion, I found it, a hidden staircase leading down into the depths below. With trembling hands, I descended into the darkness, guided only by the faint glow of my flashlight. The air grew colder with each step, sending shivers down my spine. And then, at last, I reached the heart of the mystery. In a hidden chamber deep beneath the mansion, I found the remains of a long-forgotten tragedy. Skeletal figures lay strewn about the room, their empty eye sockets staring accusingly into the darkness. It was a scene of horror and despair, a testament to the darkness that lurked within the human heart. As I fled the mansion, the echoes of the past haunted my every step. But amidst the darkness, I also found a glimmer of hope, a reminder that even in the face of tragedy, there is still beauty to be found in the world. And though the memories of that fateful day will stay with me forever, I know that I will emerge from the shadows stronger and wiser than before. Story 3. As I sit here, pen poised over paper, I'm not quite sure where to begin. Perhaps at the moment when everything started to unravel, or maybe even earlier, when the first cracks began to form in the facade of normalcy. But regardless, it feels important to document it all, to make sense of the chaos that has become my life. It all began innocuously enough, as these things often do. I was living my life, going through the motions, never really stopping to question whether I was truly happy or merely existing. Then, like a bolt from the blue, she walked into my life. Her name was Emily, and from the moment I laid eyes on her, I was captivated. She was a whirlwind of energy and laughter, her smile infectious and her spirit untamed. I found myself drawn to her like a moth to a flame, unable to resist the pull of her magnetic personality. We fell into each other's lives with an ease that felt almost predestined. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and before I knew it, I was head over heels in love. It was a love unlike anything I had ever experienced before, all-consuming and exhilarating in its intensity. But as the old adage goes, all good things must come to an end. And end it did, in a spectacular fashion that left me reeling and questioning everything I thought I knew about love and life. It started with little things, innocent enough on their own, but building to a crescendo of doubt and betrayal. Late nights at the office, whispered phone calls in the other room, a distance that seemed to grow with each passing day. I tried to ignore the signs, to convince myself that I was just being paranoid, but deep down, I knew something was wrong. Then came the moment of truth, the revelation that shattered my world into a million jagged pieces. I walked in on her, tangled up with another man in our bed, their laughter echoing like a cruel mockery of everything we had shared. In that instant, the facade crumbled, and I saw her for who she truly was, a stranger wearing the face of the woman I loved. The aftermath was a blur of tears and accusations, of shattered dreams and broken promises. I tried to salvage what was left of our relationship, to find some semblance of closure in the wreckage of our love, but it was futile. In the end, all I could do was pick up the pieces of my shattered heart and try to move on. So here I am, alone with my thoughts and my regrets, trying to make sense of it all. They say that time heals all wounds, but I'm not sure I'll. As I closed the diary and returned it to its rightful place in the time capsule, I couldn't help but feel a sense of closure wash over me. The mystery had been solved, the secrets of the past laid bare for all to see. And though the truth may have been buried for 50 years, it had finally been set free, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit. Story 4. I remember the day I first saw her. It was a stormy afternoon, the kind where the rain slashes against the windows like tiny daggers, and the wind howls through the cracks in the walls. I was holed up in my favorite cafe, seeking refuge from the tempest outside. As I sipped my coffee, lost in the pages of a worn paperback, she walked in. She was like a breath of fresh air in the midst of the chaos outside. Her presence seemed to calm the storm raging within me, and I couldn't help but be drawn to her. I watched as she ordered a cup of tea and settled into a corner booth, her gaze fixed on the world outside as if she were searching for something amidst the chaos. There was a sadness in her eyes, a depth that hinted at hidden scars and untold stories. For days, I found myself drawn back to that cafe, hoping to catch another glimpse of her. And each time I saw her, my heart skipped a beat. I longed to talk to her, to learn her name and unravel the mysteries hidden behind those soulful eyes. Finally, one day, I mustered up the courage to approach her. I stumbled over my words, my palms sweaty and my heart pounding in my chest. But she smiled, a warm, genuine smile that lit up the room and eased my nerves. We talked for hours, about everything and nothing at all. We laughed and shared stories, and for the first time in a long time, I felt truly alive. It was as if we were two lost souls, adrift in a sea of chaos, finding solace and understanding in each other's company. From that day forward, she became my anchor in the storm. Whenever life threw its worst at me, she was there, a beacon of light guiding me through the darkness. Together, we weathered the storms of life, holding on to each other tightly as we navigated the twists and turns of fate. And as the years passed, our love only grew stronger. We faced challenges and obstacles, but we faced them together, hand in hand, knowing that as long as we had each other, we could weather any storm. Looking back now, I realized that she was the light I had been searching for all along. In a world full of chaos and uncertainty, she was my constant, my rock, my everything. And though the storms may rage on, I know that as long as she is by my side, I will always find my way back to the light. Story 5. It was a sweltering summer afternoon when I stumbled upon the old art gallery tucked away on a quiet side street. The sign above the entrance was weathered and faded, but something about the place drew me in, beckoning me to explore its hidden treasures. As I stepped inside, the air was thick with the scent of linseed oil and old wood. The gallery was a labyrinth of narrow corridors and dimly lit rooms, each one filled with an eclectic mix of paintings, sculptures, and photographs. I wandered through the maze of artwork, my eyes drinking in the colors and textures that adorned the walls. Each piece seemed to tell a story, capturing a fleeting moment of beauty or emotion frozen in time. But it was one painting in particular that caught my eye, a vibrant canvas of swirling colors and bold brushstrokes that seemed to pulsate with life. There was something about the painting that spoke to me, stirring a long-forgotten ache in the depths of my soul. As I stood before the painting, I felt a wave of sadness wash over me, memories of lost dreams and broken promises flooding back with overwhelming force. For years, I had clung to the past, unable to let go of the pain and regret that weighed me down. But as I gazed into the depths of the painting, something shifted inside me. It was as if the colors themselves were reaching out to me, urging me to release the burdens that I had carried for so long. With trembling hands, I reached out and touched the canvas, feeling a surge of energy course through me. In that moment, I made a choice to let go of the past and embrace the beauty of the present. As I left the gallery behind and stepped out into the warm embrace of the summer sun, I felt lighter than I had in years. The weight that had once burdened me was gone, replaced by a sense of freedom and renewal. And as I walked away, I knew that I was not just leaving behind an old art gallery. I was leaving behind the ghosts of my past, ready to embrace whatever the future held in store.